Is Arizona State joining the Big 12? I doubt it. I doubt it highly. However, it's fun to break down the respective possibilities in regards to how that team, that particular school, that football program would fare in another conference. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. We break down the game we all love each and every day with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. Why? Because of your engagement, involvement, participation here in the discussion. Please join me on my next call-in show. All right, again, rumors flying about Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, the four corners of the Pac-12 joining the Big 12 because the rights deal in the Pac-12 will not measure up. That remains to be seen. Michael Crow, Arizona State president, has at times left the window open in regards to the possibility that it could happen if things fall apart in the Pac-12. All right, let's look at Arizona State and how they have fared through the years against the Big 12 and how they might stack up against this conference if they would join. We doubt it, but if they would join. Arizona State's been a highly successful football program in the past, under the likes of Frank Kush back in the 1970s during their transition to the Pac-12 or the Pac-8, the Pac-10 at the time. They became the Pac-10, of course, with the addition of Arizona State and Arizona. Darryl Rogers had a nice run in the 1980s. Later, it was Bruce Snyder who took this program to the brink of a national championship, one drive away against Ohio State in the 1997 Rose Bowl. And most notably, and most recently, I should say, would be Todd Graham taking this program to multiple bowls and a Pac-12 championship game. Arizona State against the Big 12, though, it's been a rough ride for the Sun Devils in recent years. Let's look at the results since the year 2000. 2022 matchup against Oklahoma State, and Arizona State, of course, had an awful season this past year at 3-9. They lost to Oklahoma State, a team that eventually finished at 7-6, 34-17, and the two teams get back together this year. In 2021, it was a loss against BYU, and of course, BYU, a new member of the Big 12. And that was a 27-17 football game. Another loss in 2017 is they had a home-and-home series with Texas Tech. You can see two big shootouts. 68-55 was the win at home against Texas Tech, and then they lost the return trip 52-45 against two Texas Tech teams that finished sub 500. Against West Virginia, that was a loss in the Cactus Bowl, 43-42. Remember that ball game in 2015. Texas Tech was an opponent again in the Holiday Bowl in 2013. 37-23 is an upset loser to Texas Tech, a really good Arizona State team that season. Then you've got to go all the way back to 2002 and a Holiday Bowl matchup against Bill Snyder and Kansas State, a Wildcats team that finished 11-2, 34-27. So all told, Arizona State 1-6 against the Big 12, 0-3 in bowl games, and 0-2 against ranked teams. In all seven of these ball games, add them up, and the point differential is negative 43. So not really a large enough of a sample size to draw any conclusions. Now, these Arizona State teams that have faced the Big 12 in these seven matchups, those Sun Devil teams are 47-44. The Big 12 teams are much better at 55-35. And then if we look at Arizona State football and how it's performed since the year 2000, it's been fairly marginal. And again, recent years, it's been rough for the Sun Devils, of course, and the Kenny Dillingham era is starting here in 2023. 4 top 25 finishes since the year 2000. This was a much better football program in the 80s and 90s with the aforementioned head coaches in control. 151 and 130 since the year 2000. 6 games under 500 in the Pac-12. The variation of success and failure at Arizona State in football through the years has been varied all over the place, up and down. We have tracked it since the mid-70s, and again, I have mentioned the coaches who have succeeded at Arizona State to a championship level in the Pac-12. However, there have been a lot of rough times for this football program as well, and certainly recently under Herm Edwards. Okay. At the same time, consider the population migration to the West. Arizona has a lot more good football talent than it did years ago, and you can see it in the recruiting rankings. So there is talent in Arizona. Arizona State, if they're committed to football, they can win. Could they win in the SEC or the Big Ten? Probably not. But in the Big 12, yes, because there are no elite programs left in the Big 12 after Oklahoma and Texas leave. Arizona State could, if committed to football, win in the Big 12. Again, we are not promoting Arizona State to the Big 12. We're just talking about how that team, that school, that program is matched up against that conference since the year 2000 and how they project going forward. And again, we have lined this up for other schools and other conferences and been more exact about, let's say, Oregon looks like Penn State in the Big Ten and would probably play to that level over the course of time. But for Arizona State, they're a huge wild card, and their history has proven it. Are they going to be committed to football? Are they going to invest in football? That's the big question for the Sun Devils. Leave your comments below. We'd love to hear from you and your thoughts. And also, we take your requests right here at the Voice of College Football.